But the end of an era inside the NBA on TNT goes away, 36 years of that. And a guy who was there at the very beginning, I'm pretty sure it was Tony Cordaro, our producer. Tony, is that accurate?
Yeah, I started in year two. Greg Agvent of CNN produced year one of
Okay.
that show. I was there year two through year five. A lot of fun. If people knew the backstory of how that show went from what it is now, if they wanted to see what it was then, it was me, an intern, and Fred Hickman. And we would borrow edited highlights from CNN Sports. And I
Yeah.
would just have to beg the guys, yeah, I know for the 11:30 show that they only need 30 seconds. I need a minute 15
Yeah.
because I got a half hour to fill and all I'm talking about is the NBA. And we got nothing. So give me a minute 15 of those highlights. That was really interesting to watch them. I'm glad the show is going to continue because it really is. To me, for the last 10, 12 years, it's been the preeminent studio show for any sport.
Yes. Yeah.
Their chemistry, what they do is just so good. You
Yeah.
can't replicate it. Look, ESPN's tried.
Yeah.
They've tried any number of combinations on their own NBA stuff.
Yeah.
Just hasn't clicked the way these four guys have clicked.
Yeah.
They just all genuinely seem to like and care about each other, and they just have fun with basketball. They don't take it as a surgical procedure. It was funny talking with Ernie Johnson when I asked him about what are the meetings like. We don't have Shaq and Charles and Kenny in the meeting. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I thought back to my producing days and how we used to do things at CNN is we would have meetings with all the analysts like, okay, you say this, he'll say this. I think maybe we may have missed when we were
Yeah.
doing it. Maybe the real key is we're going to cover somehow this subject and you guys start thinking about your answers and we'll figure out the rest as we go along.
Yeah.
And they do a tremendous job. I'm glad it's going to continue on ESPN. I hope the fans realize it's going to still be there and the same kind of show.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. And take nothing away from ESPN and the talent that is there. It's just different.
Yeah.
And they've tried for years. I remember stories 10 years ago. There was they had an NBA draft with Bill Simmons. They tried to put him in there and it was a train wreck. And that's something against Bill. He's fantastic at what he does. It just didn't work. It didn't click. And yeah, to get these guys, and you're right. The thing is that they come in, they're organic, and it's all fresh. And there was a moment during Saturday night's game, and you and I know Shaq and Charles and Kenny and Ernie. We've known all these guys for a long time. But there was a Joe Underhill, who is a researcher, and I'm not sure what his title is right now. He's that little guy with the beard who was up on a chair choking Shaq, Joe, like 7'1", 350-pound swing, right? And he's like choking him. They're all buddies. And that's
Right.
what fun is. I remember that all the times I would go over and work with Turner and work with these guys. You're exactly right. Like we would sit down and have meetings, and then we would go in. There's no script. The only script you might have is the lead in to a feature that somebody did that's specific. You need to say this to make this package, this story make sense. Otherwise, there's no script. Here's a rundown and you're off and running. And it's for that show, it's a half hour. If you do stuff on some of the other shows, it's 3 or 4 hours. It doesn't matter. And I think that's the beauty of it. To your point is it's organic and it's people who really care. The personalities there, like I said, they all four really get along. They added Shaq several years ago after he retired, I think 2012, I think it was, when he came in. They found a way to fit him in. It wasn't easy at first. It wasn't automatic. I'll tell you behind the scenes, it wasn't automatic. But they made it work and they've come together. And it's such a good show. And I'm with you. I'm glad they're continuing on ESPN next year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what they do. They just wrapped it up in such a neat way. I really wish somebody would do a documentary about that show and some of the behind the scenes and talk to some of those crew members and just what it's like to be around those guys and the fun that they have. And it's good to see a group of people really enjoying their time and enjoying being together, that TV doesn't have to be this chore, that it
Yeah.
can be just an expression of joy about sports. And that's really what that show is all about.
Yeah. Tell me this really quick. Now, the first years, was that done over at Techwood or was that done in CNN Center?
No, we did it at CNN Center. We used the B control room. A control for CNN was in one area. Right next to it, there was a B control room with a B studio, which is a little small insert studio. And that's where we did Inside the NBA out of.
The closet, right? Basically.
Yeah, basically, if you take everything that I spent in 4 years of producing that show and including doing it every day during the playoffs,
Yeah.
I'm not sure we spent $5,000 in 4 years. I swear to God, that's just how it was.